What's up, Laker fans? Today we're going to take a look at Timofey Mozgov, who the Lakers signed to a controversial 4-year, $64 million deal. Let's take a look at how he fits in with this young Lakers squad. While there are significant holes in his game, which we'll get to later, I can say without exaggeration that Mozgov is one of the best pick-and-roll bigs in the league. He gets a very wide base, as you can see here. Ideally, you want your screen setters to look like the letter A. He's able to make better, consistent contact with smaller players as a result. Traditionally, bigs were taught to open up and face the ball handler when they rolled, but Mozgov turns away from the ball handler instead. This style of rolling to the basket became popularized in the mid-2000s with Amari Stoudemire and Mike D'Antoni. The purpose of it is to have better spacing with the ball handler by having him farther away, and to maximize the window between this defender and this defender. The resulting pressure of Mozgov's roll here means that Drummond has to stay back, creating a more open shot for Williams. By contrast, Hibbert usually opened up to the ball handler when he rolled. Between his technique and his lack of speed, he was no more than a pick-and-pop threat, which in turn put more pressure on the Laker guards. Mozgov is the exact opposite of that, putting a ton of pressure on the rim by rolling hard and using good technique. This will make life a lot easier on the Laker guards. This has a positive impact on your shooters as well, because weak side wing defenders have to rotate over. That leaves them open on the weak side for a three. He makes excellent reads on the pick and roll as well. LeBron snakes this pick and roll, which is a common way to attack a soft edge. Clarkson does this a lot as well. By doing this, he effectively cuts into Mozgov's roll lane. Mozgov reads this and takes LeBron's original lane, effectively switching places with him. It looks like he thought this was going to be a shot rather than a pass, but he did a good job of getting himself open nonetheless. He's very good on iced pick and rolls as well. Ice is normally susceptible to pick and pop, but there's always going to be a window between these two defenders. Mozgov is good at getting into that window and creating opportunities. The other part of his pick and roll game that the Lakers haven't had in a long time is his ability to finish on lobs. He does a good job of finding the open window here, but he also has an athletic advantage over the big that's guarding him. Dellavedova recognizes this, and it's an easy dunk. Lastly, he doesn't pick and pop very often, but he's competent at it when he does. The Cavs used him a lot in the weak side short corner to take advantage of their two shot creators in LeBron and Kyrie. His job on this was simple, to dive to the basket when his man left to help, and he's very good at it. When this happens, oftentimes a weak side defender is going to drop down to help. His job is to not let that defender get in front of him. He has a nice feel for relocating and finding seams in the defense as well. The same attributes that make him effective in the pick and roll and drive and dish game make him effective on his off-ball screens as well. So the obvious question here is, if this guy is so good at attacking the basket, how come he wasn't even in the playoff rotation for Cleveland? The answer is his pick and roll defense and his ability to defend the perimeter in general. As a result, he's susceptible to guards who can shoot pull-up jumpers and bigs who can stretch the floor. Take a look at this play, for example. Chris Paul comes off of the screen, and Mozgov has to give him a ton of space. In a vacuum, mid-range jumpers don't generate a lot of points per possession, but I would venture a guess that wide-open mid-range jumpers for the league's better point guards do. For example, the Lakers play Chris Paul and Steph Curry a combined 8 times, and in Curry's case, these are going to be 3-pointers. When he does come out higher, he can be easily beaten by a guard who can change direction. Drawing Mozgov out onto the perimeter was how Golden State was able to keep him off of the court. He simply has to give perimeter guys too much space to be able to stay in front of him. Even off of the ball, it put him in situations that he wasn't used to defending. Here he gets lost on a down screen, leaving Iguodala wide open. He's fairly good as a post defender, using a solid base to hold his position. Here Drummond tries to back him down, but can't. He will bite on pump fakes though, as we see here. Mozgov's best defensive attribute is his rim protection. As we've seen, he has physical limitations, but he also has a very high defensive IQ. His rotations are excellent and he anticipates well. On this one, Crawford slips the screen, but Mozgov rotates over and gets there in time. When Mozgov rotates over, he maintains excellent verticality when he challenges shots. But even in these situations, he can struggle with guards who can change direction well in traffic. When he's not in a position to contest with verticality, he usually goes for block shots with his right hand. While he's not laterally quick, he actually has pretty good straight line speed. He's a fairly good rim runner as a result. On his outlet passes, he does a good job of getting the ball as far up court as quickly as he can. Here, rather than hand the ball off to his point guard, he makes the better decision of getting the ball up court. But he doesn't have the best passing instincts, so this can lead to turnovers. On the defensive boards, he does a good job of boxing out, using his physicality to keep players off the offensive boards. He has a limited radius on the defensive glass though. If it's not in his area, he's not going to be able to go track it down. He's better on the offensive glass because he's always looking to put pressure on the front of the rim. Mozgov doesn't have much to offer in the post, but when he does, he's got 3 basic moves. The first is a turnaround jumper, and then he counters that with an up and under move. And then lastly, he'll face up to either shoot the jumper or take a guy off the dribble. You'll notice that there was no section on passing in this video, and that's because Mozgov was rarely put in a position where he needed to make a decision. Some people have asked me if I think that he could fill the same role that Andrew Bogut did for Golden State, and that's the primary distinction between the two. It's unlikely that he'll be able to replicate the playmaking ability of Bogut, but his ability to put pressure on the front of the rim via the screen game should be a huge asset. But Luka's going to have to come up with creative ways of hiding him defensively so that he doesn't get exploited on the perimeter.